Your financial needs aren't independent of each other, so your financial advisors shouldn't be either. At Mercantile Bank, our experienced United Wealth professionals are united to serve you and your complete financial planning and wealth management needs. Are you just starting your investment journey or need to roll over a retirement plan? Do you need to plan for a loved one with special needs or for your own life after work? Maybe your business needs a succession plan or you want to enhance your employee benefit programs. Whatever steps you need to take, our United Wealth experts are ready to take them with you. Together, we are united.
Hi, this is Ron Kinscherf with Muddy River News. Welcome to another edition of the Business Spotlight, brought to you by Rober and Phillips Attorneys at Law and Mercantile Bank. Today we have Heather Leindecker. She put up her own shingle. She's a nurse practitioner, and you've been a nurse for a while now, haven't you?
Yes, I became a nurse in 2001.
So why'd you get into nursing?
So I went into nursing because I like to help people. Kind of was the oldest in my family and was a caregiver for my siblings growing up, and went into the medical profession because I wanted to continue being able to provide care to people around me.
So were you one of those kids growing up that you took care of your stuffed animals and put Band-Aids on them and stuff like that?
Yes, and made my siblings play school all the time, and but, they still bring it up to this day.
So when you're in kindergarten or whatever, did you just tell your teachers, I'm going to be a nurse? Was that always your goal, was to get into healthcare?
No, actually, I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wanted to be a lawyer until I was in high school, and then I switched gears, and I felt like my best path was to take care of people because that was kind of closer to what my personality was.
Oh, okay. So, but then you made the jump to nurse practitioner.
Yes.
So what was the thinking behind that?
Yeah. So I became a nurse in 2001. So I was a nurse for a very long time, went into management, did that for a while, loved that, but definitely knew that I wanted to do a higher level of nursing, get my master's. Okay. And so
a higher level of nursing, what does that mean specifically?
Yeah, so really it's an education thing in the nursing field. So, you go either the management route, the nurse practitioner route, there are multiple, like the nurse specialist, there are different paths that you can go. Okay. And so when you decide that, you kind of have to pick a path. And so I chose to be a nurse practitioner because in management I learned that, yes, I loved managing people, but I also missed taking care of patients.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of why I didn't choose that path back then. But became a nurse practitioner in 2014 and definitely feel like that was my calling long term. Okay. Love it. It's a fantastic position.
But what's interesting that you made the decision just to hang up your own shingle and not necessarily, and you may be partnering with some doctors, but you're not with a doctor in-house.
So in Illinois is one of the states that has full practice authority, meaning that once you meet all the criteria as a nurse practitioner, you can practice independently on your own. And so I always knew when I became a nurse practitioner that I would want the autonomy and I would want to be able to practice independently and make my impact on the community that way. Okay. So whenever I was able to start, crossing that bridge, I did start taking the steps to do that as soon as I could. And I branched out on my own and I did that this year.
But you choose a unique specialty, I think, because it's something that's needed around here. But you chose.
Yeah, so I do primary care, but I really love mental health.
Right.
That's where my heart is. That's very near and dear to my heart. And it's interesting, when I was in primary care for 5 years, I loved primary care, but mental health kept becoming a big challenge in my patient population because a lot of people had mental health needs, but we couldn't get them in for 2 or 3 months, and they didn't have two or 3 months to wait.
By getting in, what do you mean?
Like to get into a specialist. So, if I didn't manage what they were coming to me for from a mental health perspective, then they would need to go to a psychiatrist or somebody who could do that. And within my realm of family practice, we learn mental health, we do rotations, we can do all of that. And so I started learning it, and I started getting good at it, and I started being able to help my patients. And then it just kind of became a path for me, and it became something that it grew. And when I thought about opening my own practice, I wanted to make an impact on the community. And so I felt like the biggest place that I could make an impact was going to be, utilizing the skills that I had built, the things that I was good at, and going into the mental health field because we have such a need for that in every community, really. It's not just in ours.
So you mentioned it was near and dear to your heart, the mental health field. Was there something, this is an awkward question to ask, but did you have some family members that needed something along those lines that drew you to that field?
Actually, so it's interesting that you asked that. So when I was 4, and I do actually remember this, my mom's dad committed suicide.
Oh my gosh.
He did.
So sorry.
And and I mean, I remember, the police
your
coming and
grandfather.
telling, yeah. So my maternal grandfather, and I remember it impacting, kind of the way it impacted my family. And I kind of, over the years have always, kind of gone back to that and thought about, gosh, what can you do to help people in a situation like that? And, it was just a long time ago, so there wasn't a lot that you could do in that situation. And I remember always thinking, I hope that someday I am in a position where if I see somebody,
Right.
in that situation, that I am able to help them in a different way than, I saw that play out in my, in my life and kind of where that went.
So is there an age group that you, I don't want to say specialize in necessarily, but do you do kids? Do you do teens? Do you do adults?
Teens and older.
Teens and older, okay.
Teens and older.
Okay.
So.
Does it take, I'm just curious, in order to do kids, let's say below teen, does that require a different specialization or certification, or is that just what you've chosen?
No, so you just can't, like, as a family nurse practitioner, you have to you have to stay away from the complex stuff. The complex stuff has to be treated by
Okay.
a psychiatrist or a PMHMP, which is a psychiatric nurse practitioner. So we can do the non-complex stuff for
Okay.
any age level, really, but the complex stuff needs to be seen by somebody specifically trained in that.
So define complex stuff.
Like schizophrenia,
Okay.
things like that. Yes.
Bipolar.
No, we can actually do bipolar.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you strictly dealing with the severely depressed, or is there other, and do you view yourself as a counselor?
No. So
Okay,
not a
so
therapist.
what services then? So where do you draw the line? That's harsh also. So what do you do versus what a
Yes.
psychiatrist or psychologist would do?
Yeah. So, psychiatrists are physicians.
Correct.
And they specialize in mental health. And so, they diagnose, treat, that type of thing. Therapists, actually do the therapy side of things. And so I do more of like diagnose and treat.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's more diagnosis and treatment.
Okay, so you're not someone, if there's a marriage that's having problems, they don't come to you necessarily, or do they?
Well, actually, a lot of my patients, what we do is when they need therapy services, I have a lot of, obviously in the healthcare community who develop this really great, resource, a lot of resources. And so I try to match them with somebody who I think that they would really mesh well with, so like individual versus, even like same-sex relationships, things like that. It's, you want to make sure that, the therapist or the counselor, whoever they end up going to, is somebody who, is trained and wants to, has a passion for that, so that they can be with the best person, for that job.
So are you doing basically triage then, to a degree?
Yeah.
So people may have an issue. They may not know what the issue is necessarily. You mentioned
Correct.
same-sex relationships or something like that. You hear them out and move them on to recommend they see somebody that you know.
Correct.
So have you established then a firm network of people that you work with then?
Yes.
So how did you establish that? Are these just people you happen to know from
So
your
these are
previous
people
life?
that really I knew from previous, I've been in healthcare for, since 2001.
Okay,
So
right.
you build a very big network over the years of people that you can utilize in situations like that. So, so like for a patient would come to me, we would make a diagnosis. We would
Right.
talk about different treatment plans. Sometimes people want to take medication. Sometimes people want to do therapy. Sometimes people want to do both. It really depends on, what the patient is willing to do and where they are at in their life, and then once you determine that, then if they want to do therapy, see a counselor, do something like that, then you work to figure out how to get them into somebody that's going to be best for their specific scenario.
You mentioned medication you can prescribe.
Yes.
How often does the patient come in and say, I need medication, versus coming in and just wanting help? You know what I'm saying? They feel like just because they're feeling down or whatever,
Right.
they're trying to, get medication.
It
Is that
really-
a challenge for you to determine that?
No,
Great.
not
Okay.
at all.
Oh,
Because not at all. Because the first thing that you talk to people about is like we are willing to every single day get up and decide what we want to deal with symptom wise when it comes to our mental health, right? So somebody who has severe anxiety, if you can get up every single day and you can deal with those symptoms and you can live like that and never be on medication, and that's okay if they choose that. It's up to the patient, So really, it is driven always by the patient.
Okay. And are you, and medication has been around for a long time. Has there been advancements in the type of medication that's available to people now
Yes.
versus to, let's say, even 10 years ago?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And healthcare things change very quickly.
Right.
New things come out all the time. It can be hard when new things come out to be able to use them because insurances don't always get on board quickly and they don't always cover them. So, we can have those challenges often.
But what are the advancements in necessarily? I mean, so how do they help the people that take the medication? Because this is,
Right.
it's not like it's, I have a cold right now. It's not like I know my cold goes away, but in the mental health field, it's a little different.
So, research and learning from our past and learning from past medications. So it's very geared towards research and studying, new things and studying the old things and that type of scenario.
But here's what I would be if I was in your position. I'd be so scared if there's a new medication, you've heard great things about it, and you have a anxious, depressed person come in. How do you decide the mental process saying, you know what, I'm going to try this new medication on Ron over here? Is that a little scary though?
No, not with experience.
Okay.
In the beginning, and really anything in medicine is, you have to realize there are a lot of antibiotics. So I know you're describing like your respiratory illness,
right?
But there are a lot of antibiotics that
but
we can use to treat.
the brain's different though. That's my thing. It's like,
right, and
you're
it
affecting
is
the chemicals in the brain.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely, and it is. But you learn the different things, and the different classes of medication, and
Right.
depending on what you're diagnosed with is going to depend on what class of medication would be best for you. And so you just get good at kind of gearing everybody's treatment plan, especially in healthcare in general. Everybody's treatment plan is unique to that individual, but as mental health is especially important in that aspect because of some people have mood disorders, some people have other things, and you have to really know that, and you have to gear the medication toward what their specific problem is.
Do you think the stigma of being mentally ill? I think mentally ill is such a harsh term too. But
That's why I like to say mental
health. So do you think the stigma though of people needing your services is lessening around here?
Do I think that it's lessening? Yes. Do I think that we have a really long way to go? Yes, I do.
Okay.
I think we have a long way to go, and I think it's more people are scared to get help because they, kind of don't want to go down that path, and I hate that because I feel like somebody who's living in a world where they just feel really, terrible all the time could just have such a better quality of life if they, were brave enough to come and talk to anybody at all about their mental health and get help.
And I think part of the challenge is that's their normal.
Yes,
so they don't know that there could be a better normal for them.
Absolutely.
Hey, thanks for coming in.
Yes.
So if people want to find out about you, Heather Leindecker online, you have a website.
I have a website, and it has all of my information.
Okay.
And I have a Facebook page.
Okay.
Also.
Thanks for coming in.
Yes.
Heather Leindecker.
Thank you.
She's got her own shingle now, and nurse practitioners dealing with mental health. This has been the Business Spotlight, brought to you by Mercantile Bank and Rober and Phillips Attorneys at Law.